Hi everyone, welcome back to Young and Wifed Up. This is Marcella.
And I'm Gabby.
And thanks for joining us this week for another episode.
If you want to check out any of our past episodes, head to youngandwifedup.com, and you can also join our Facebook group, also at Young and Wifed Up. Wifed Up.
Also, if you would like to support us, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com. Just head to our website and click the coffee cup to send your support. Also, shop with our sponsors, which currently include Imperfect Foods, Covenant Eyes, and Earth Hero. You can also leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And also share with your family and friends. And also, thank you so much for 6,000 downloads.
Yay! We're so happy and excited.
We're very blessed by the audience of listeners that we've grown over the past couple of years. Yeah, and now we have currently hit 6,000 downloads, which is really cool.
Yeah, it may not seem a lot to people that have really large followings, but we started from scratch and without having any following at all and just sharing with friends and family. And now we have broken our reach and we get to talk to all kinds of amazing women all the time. And we're just so blessed. So thank you so much for your support and continue listening to our podcast. Another thing that we're excited to announce is that we are having a giveaway for the month of February. So if you would like to win a $20 gift card to Target, y'all know you want that Target gift card. I want that Target gift card. All you have to do is head to our new YouTube channel, Young and Wifed Up. Well, the link is on our website. And you subscribe to the channel in order to get an entry. And for additional entries, you can comment on any episodes from January and February. Each comment will give you an additional entry. So say our first episode back, you comment on that one, and then you comment on every single episode until the end of February. That will give you an additional entry, which means you'll have more chances to win. So share that with your family and friends, get that Target gift card, and the winner will be announced the first episode of March. So keep an eye out for that. Also, today is going to be a little bit different. We're going to be switching over to a Zoom call that we had with a good friend, Shannon, and she's also the admin of our Facebook group. So thank you, Shannon, for all the work that you do. We just recorded the episode and we're super excited to share it with you. She has so much insight and wisdom to share with us on how we can be in tune with our bodies as females. And it's just a really exciting episode. So we hope you guys enjoy.
I don't know about you, but I'm always on the hunt for a convenient shopping experience.
However, too much of the stuff we buy today is made without any thought of how it will affect our families and the world tomorrow.
What if there was an all-around better way to shop, with the convenience that we all want and the confidence that everything is made, packaged, and shipped sustainably?
Earth Hero is exactly that. Earth Hero is a one-stop shop for all your sustainable and eco-friendly products.
They have so many products ranging from beauty supplies, cleaning products, homeware, clothing, baby essentials, and so much more.
Join us today on our sustainable journey by using promo code Young and Wifed Up for 10% off your entire purchase.
Make sure to click the Earth Hero link on our website at youngandwifedup.com to start shopping today.
Marcella, guess what?
What?
Last night, I made our dinner entirely out of incredible food that could have been thrown out as waste and headed to the landfill.
No way. How?
Imperfect Foods!
Imperfect Foods is a weekly grocery delivery service on a mission to build a better, less wasteful food system. They offer a full lineup of sustainable, affordable groceries that make the weekly chore of grocery shopping an effortless and delightful experience.
Imperfect Foods partners with food suppliers, farmers, and small businesses to ensure that delicious food goes into our pantries and instead of the landfill.
I feel like you started that sentence really weird.
I did.
Anyway, you guys have got to try it. Get $20 off your first Imperfect Foods delivery by using our link at youngandwifedup.com.
Get it. Okay, guys, it's Gabby and Marcella, and we're here with our friend Shannon. And if you have seen Shannon's name before, it's because you are in our Facebook group where Shannon is an admin for us, and she's also a very close friend. So, hi, Shannon. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Of course. So before we get into the crazy topic today, we have some personal questions.
Okay. That sounds bad. It's very personal.
They're very personal. My first question is, who are you? What is your vocation? What do you do with your days?
I am a housewife and I home educate our children.
That's awesome. And how long have you and your husband been married?
It'll be 5 years in June.
Wow. That's crazy. So you guys got married, I think, a year before we did, because we got married in 2018.
Yeah. So it'd be
July?
it'd be 2017. That's what Judd and I got married too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Whoa. You're going to be married for 5 years. That is crazy.
What month?
April.
Wow. Okay. I'm June. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
We beat you by a few months.
Yeah, you did.
And she's the youngest among us.
Yeah, I am. I'm the baby.
Yes.
So, Shannon, you are coming from a place of experience today with our topic. You have many children.
Yes.
How many children do you have?
So I am 18 weeks pregnant with our 5th child.
That's awesome. And how old is your oldest currently?
So Declan is 6 and he will likely turn 7 right before this baby's born.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, praise God for all of his blessings in your family. And I just know that in my friendship with you, I have greatly benefited from your perspectives on women's health and reproduction and God's plan for the family. And you and I we run a Facebook group for women that are trying to conceive. And it's just been really fun to be able to bounce off a lot of information and research with you. And you're usually the person that I'm contacting when I have issues with my health and needing some advice. And you're just a wealth of knowledge, not because you're a professional in the field of reproduction, but because you are passionate about it. So we're really excited to have you on today. And again, the purpose of our podcast in general, to any listeners out there, is that we are peers, spurring each other on in the Lord, in our Christian life, and womanhood, and being wives and mothers. And so we are not coming from a place of authority, like we know everything about these subjects, but we know things from experience, and we like to share ideas with each other and encourage one another. And so that's where we are coming from today. So should we just jump right in,
We need
Marcella?
to jump right in, yeah.
Okay, so natural family planning. Okay, what is natural family planning? I can't talk today.
Say that 5 times
What is
fast.
natural family planning? Shannon, go.
Okay. So, yeah, Gabby, like you said, I have absolutely no higher education in fertility. I have used natural family planning for 4 out of our 5 children. And so I've been just studying the method over the last almost 5 years, pretty much. I think it was like a month after we got married. And, I was like, I'm not pregnant. I had no background. I wasn't taught anything really at all. And so, yeah, when I wasn't pregnant after a month of just like winging it, I started researching all of this. And I just think that it's really, it's really beautiful that God made our bodies as women to follow patterns that can be tracked.
Yeah.
And so natural family planning, as a definition, I got this from the Fertility Awareness Center. They say that it's using the fertility awareness method, which is sometimes called FAM, within Christian or Catholic contexts for heterosexual married couples. NFP calls for abstinence on fertile days if you are preventing, whereas in FAM, you can use whatever you want. FAM, you can use condoms, you can have your tubes tied. I mean, whatever's the limit. Whereas natural family planning apparently has a connotation of being from a, I'll say religious, I guess, view of, a man and a woman being married and, being fruitful in their marriage with children.
Okay.
So that, I didn't know there was a distinction. I have always called it the FAM method just because of what it's what you're using. The method is the FAM method, and I guess natural family planning kind of goes over that as this overarching view of this is the Christian way with a man and a woman, which is everything that the three of us support and believe is the only true family.
Right.
And so yeah, that's pretty much without getting into the details of what it entails, that's pretty much the overarching.
So yeah, the fertility awareness method is something that we can teach young women when they're in high school and young adolescents, correct?
Yes.
But we would practice natural family planning when a woman is married.
Yes. Yeah,
Right.
because there are benefits to knowing our bodies that don't have to do with conceiving or not conceiving children.
Absolutely.
It's just general knowledge. I mean, if I had known any of this, even just a tiny bit of it, I wouldn't have been surprised when I wasn't pregnant a month after crying. You know what I mean? Because I would have known. I honestly thought you could get pregnant literally at any time.
Right.
And that's a huge misconception that you can get pregnant at any time. And so you either need to be on the pill or use other types of contraceptives at all times. And there's no other way because you're at risk at getting pregnant whenever. And so you need to be on guard constantly.
It's definitely what I took away from my public education.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is something that I think every Christian woman should know. And I mean, I know it's my intentions when I have girls, Lord willing, if I have girls, that I would teach them about their reproductive system and use FAM to help them learn about their bodies, because it's no longer a mystery. Everybody says like, oh, it's such a mystery, what the female body. And I'm like, It's not really. God made it like very intentionally. And when we have this mystery hanging over us, then it's just kind of the unknown. And then it's up to other people to kind of tell us what those things mean. And so we're either demonizing the female cycle because it's a burden to us, or we need to, or it's completely the other side of the coin where we have sexual liberation and sexual freedom, where we're not using God's standards in how we view the body and how we view fertility in general. So awesome. I'm really excited to talk about the nitty gritty in here. So before we get into how the method works, there's a couple questions that we have for you. The first one is, how can natural family planning benefit a married couple? How can that benefit them?
So a step back from that, I would say, even along the lines of, like you said, like teaching young girls, there are parts of natural family planning, attempting to be specific, that can cue you into signs that there is dysfunction in your body.
Yeah.
Having an irregular cycle points to disorder. Even if it's just something as minor as stress. My cycle was pushed back on my wedding day because I was so stressed out that week.
Wow, yeah.
It can be something as small as stress that's going to go away the next day or the next week. Or it can be something a little more serious, like low progesterone, high estrogen, luteal phase defect, thyroid disorders, and PCOS. And so just from a medical standpoint, as someone who goes to the doctor, not a doctor, I go to the doctor a lot, and it was very eye-opening for me to just randomly ask her, like, hey, my temps are really low. And she's like, oh, that's very common with hypothyroidism. And I was like,
wow.
Really? And then when I was giving some back history about the heavy, heavy periods I had in high school, she was like, oh, you had high estrogen. You must have had high estrogen.
Wow.
And I mean, they were more painful than like months worth of them now as an adult. Right. And so that is something that made me really passionate about using it as a health standpoint and not necessarily for one way or the other in pregnancy. But then, if we are talking about within the marriage context, I mean, knowing your body is important. Like most men don't know this stuff. And like, why would they really? And so I can just imagine like a couple where neither one really knows much about it. And maybe they try for years and years or, whatever. And it's, if you're not actually timing it correctly, you almost can't count it as trying. Like that's just,
wow.
You know what I mean? Because there's
that's true.
5 days in your whole cycle where you even have a shot of getting pregnant.
Right.
So if your husband's on a business trip the same week out of the month, or you know what I mean? Just like you could not, or just, you don't, whatever. So I think even if you just have the knowledge and maybe you're not super gung-ho about maybe trying all the methods, but you just have that knowledge in the back of your mind, I think that's invaluable.
So in that same light, we've been talking a lot about conceiving in pregnancy, using NFP for conceiving. Is NFP just for achieving pregnancy?
No. So you can use the same methods slightly backwards. There's obviously a little bit more rules if you are trying to avoid pregnancy without the use of birth control.
Right.
But having the general knowledge, you could then apply it one way or the other.
And I know there's a huge movement of women that I've come across, and even in secular culture, where people are finally becoming aware of the dangers of contraceptives on the female body, regardless of moral standards or biblical worldviews. People are seeing like the higher risks of cancer in the body, infertility for an otherwise healthy woman, a whole slew of issues that people are trying to get off the pill, take out the contraceptives. And there's people that are like, well, now what? Now what do I do in this situation? And I think not being able to have these conversations to show that like the Lord has given us this body with all of these signs, and it's like this is a way that you can avoid putting those harmful chemicals in your body, or even if you are convicted, if you're a Christian, which you should be, about abortifacients and abortions in the industry that is a part of that with reproductive health, then people are now starting to learn, oh, it's not everything that everybody says it's been all this time. And so there's a huge wave of people getting away from those things, which is encouraging for us as Christians to see that. But also now there's a lack of education. So now we have, exactly. And so I think the more we have these conversations with our sisters in Christ and teaching our daughters and showing them like this is the way the Lord has made our bodies, like how beautiful that he's given us these things, then there will be more people practicing NFP than there will be people that are in this confusing middle ground where they're uneducated and they don't know what to do next. And that includes for achieving pregnancy, because I certainly had no idea how to achieve pregnancy. And obviously, like, I'm going to be very upfront that we've said before several times in this pregnancy that fertility is the Lord's and our health is the Lord's. And no matter how long or how well I try to get pregnant, the Lord has not opened my womb, and he has not opened many wombs of sisters in Christ that I know, including in the Bible. And so we see that even though there's things that are like taking control of your fertility, taking charge of your fertility, there's a lot of things that are things that we can do for our health that can help us to be ready for pregnancy. But ultimately, pregnancy is the Lord's. And that also goes for vice versa, him withholding giving you a child or him giving you a child. So let's talk about how do we know that this method works? What is the reliability of this method?
Well, I have 5 kids. So I think that covers it, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. With the exception of women suffering from PCOS and other disorders that are along those lines, the female body will have a temperature shift after ovulation.
Yeah.
There's no if, ands, or buts about it. There are certain rules for different patterns.
Right.
But it will happen. If you don't have a shift, you didn't ovulate. Yes, you can bleed without ovulation. It's technically not called a period, but most people probably don't even know that, and they would call it a period anyway. But so if you are following all of the steps together, I couldn't actually find any sort of statistic. I know that because the thing with the main sign of ovulation, in hindsight, which is a problem for those that are not trying to get pregnant. The methods used to know ahead of time are, like I said, if you have PCOS or something else that can alter your results.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't say this is 100% effective, because like you said, the Lord open and closes the womb anyway. So if it's his will to give you a child, he's gonna do it.
Yeah, whether you're using contraceptives or natural family planning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, there's no way to 100% avoid it except for abstaining.
Yeah.
Right.
Even with NFP. So yeah, we don't want to make it seem like this is
even if your tube's tied, there's still a
there's still a chance. Yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure that even now it's a much lower chance than probably this is, but abstaining really is the only way, 100%.
Right.
But in the marriage context, that would not.
That's not a thing.
Positive thing. Yeah.
Right.
For a time of prayer and fasting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't have any statistical facts, but I'm sure if you really needed to know, that you could dig into that on the internet and find something, or in some of the books that I'll be recommending.
Awesome.
You might have them, but.
So you've mentioned before that there are some people like myself that have hormonal disorders. And so for somebody like me, or for another woman that has maybe, like you said, there's a whole slew of different types of issues, from hypothyroidism to endometriosis to even just like a low progesterone or high estrogen, just even things like that. What does NFP look like for them in that case?
So I'm Gabby, you would probably know more about that as far as PCOS specifically.
Right.
But for the other ones that I named earlier, flags that you would want to look for would be very low temperatures, not having a spike ever. Like I said, that is the only way to prove ovulation happened. So if you're not ovulating ever, now it is not rare. Is that what I want to say? It's not abnormal for a woman like once or a couple times in her lifetime to have a cycle where that doesn't happen.
Right.
But if you are consistently not having a spike and not being able to prove ovulation, that would definitely point that something wasn't right.
Yeah.
Like
so
I said,
in that case, like, I know for me, I still practice NFP to achieve pregnancy. There's some times where I'm a little bit relaxed about trying to conceive. Right now, I am in a relaxed state because just trying to even just deal with my health is a little stressful. So having to add on to like really going hard at trying, that's a little bit much for me right now in this stage. But there are things that I'm working with my doctor for because of my PCOS that we are doing to help achieve ovulation, to help to raise my progesterone levels, and all the other things to help. So if you are somebody that's listening and you are struggling, or you find out through practicing NFP, oh, I think something's up, like the temperature issues that Shannon was just talking about, then that is a perfect sign to go get your labs done, find a good doctor. I highly recommend functional medicine just because it's worked for me, but even just going to your OB and saying, can we get some labs done? Can we talk about what can we do to get my body back in balance so I can practice NFP effectively?
and that's the cool thing about charting or tracking your symptoms at all, is either through an app or paper and pen, is you can then screenshot that, print it out,
Yes,
bring it to your doctor and be like,
something's up.
Here's the data. What tests could you run on me?
Yeah.
Or what can we talk through that might that my symptoms might be matching something?
Right.
And so it's not just like, I don't know, I have this feeling, or I'm trying and it's not working. That you actually have some tangible data that you're like, hey, what does this mean?
Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of times with women who go to the doctor and they're like, I'm just like not feeling good. Like you said, if you don't have the data and you just go and say, something's not right, like I'm really irregular, or like I'm in a lot of pain, and yet they're like, oh, it's normal.
Yeah, it's normal for your body to change and whatever.
Yeah,
or you just had a baby, so of course it's not going to be. Or, there's a lot of things that they could say unless you have the data to show something is wrong.
So all the more reason to even start this before, even if you don't suspect anything at all could be wrong. To be tracking consistently is just, like you said, good for health.
Yeah, and that's why I think temping, especially like women that are engaged or getting really serious about marriage, knowing if something's up before you get married, like it's such a blessing, instead of
totally,
you know what I mean? You would have time and just a more relaxed environment to try and work on that.
Totally agree.
No, ahead of time into marriage, like, hey, our chances are really low. Like, let's pray through this. Let's get counsel on this.
Yeah.
Let's be prepared instead of be taken aback.
Right. Which, that definitely happened for me, because in my sense, I was like, the women in my family are so fertile, I'm going to have no problem getting pregnant, And so after a few months, I was like, uh-oh. But then a year went by and I was like, something's wrong. And so looking back, if I had the foresight, or even just somebody to tell me like, hey, just start tracking some things. And if something doesn't look right, then, because I was already showing horrible symptoms since I was a teenager.
Yeah.
But everybody in my family, like all the women in my family, are like, well, we've all have heavy periods.
Yeah, we're all, yeah.
And
like,
so,
we all had heavy, long periods.
Yeah,
like,
so they're like, yours is just like ours. We're all the same. But then I'm like, I don't know. I think something's wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking back, I definitely would have benefited.
That would have helped
instead
a lot.
of having, when of course the Lord's hand has been in my marriage and has sanctified Ryan and I through this, but that would have really been a benefit to us and to me to know exactly what I was dealing with. So now that we've talked,
thinking about that, when I was preparing for this, I was like, you know what? My periods were so light after I had Asher that was my first sign of having low progesterone.
Wow.
And I got pregnant so fast with Lila May that luckily my body compensates well when I'm pregnant. It's when I'm not pregnant that my body makes almost no progesterone at all.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And so I got pregnant and my body just shot up, and I was like, oh, it's probably not, your cycle changes, whatever the cliche thing is. But then I was diagnosed with low progesterone after I gave birth to her. And so now in hindsight, I'm like, hey, that wasn't normal. I had a feeling it wasn't, but I had no basis for that feeling. I just knew how heavy my periods were before.
And this was after your third child, your third pregnancy.
This was my second, after Asher, the second.
Okay.
But then I wasn't diagnosed until after my third. Yeah.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy. So there are a lot of benefits to practicing this. So I'm ready to hear the deets. Let's get into, how do we do this? What are the basics?
So the basic rules before kind of the nitty gritty how-tos are that the first 5 days of the start of your cycle is the first day that you start your period. That's day 1. And the day before you start your period is the last day of the previous cycle. Mm-hmm. So the first 5 days, bleeding or not, doesn't matter. You're infertile. The only caveat would be if you didn't have a real period and you had spotting or breakthrough bleeding or something that you were just like, oh, it's just my period.
Right.
And it wasn't actually, that goes out the window. That's not a rule because that's not a period. And so if you're doing NFP regularly, you will know when you ovulate, and therefore you will know when you have your period. So the first time you do this, if you think you have irregular periods, like, I would not count on this rule until you know your body more. But overall, first 5 days, you're infertile. And then the next rule is the dry day rule. So if you're dry, which means you have no cervical mucus, you are also considered infertile. So if you're dry in the morning, like up until that night, you're considered infertile. And so then the last rule would be once you've confirmed ovulation, and we'll get into how to confirm it, but you are infertile the rest of your cycle. And then those rules start over 5 days, that and that. So the only proven way to confirm ovulation at home is to take your basal body temperature, which is also called BBT. And what BBT means is it's your temperature after you get at least 3. Some sources say 4, others say 3, but I haven't had a problem doing it on 3 hours of sleep. But you need at least 3 consecutive hours of sleep within 1 hour of the same time every day. So it doesn't matter when you go to bed and when you do it. I'm usually nursing a baby when I start tracking.
Yeah.
And so I temp at 2 a.m. and I go to bed before 11. So that's at least 3 hours, because that's just usually when I'm ready to start temping again, my baby is sleeping from when I put them down until 2 a.m. And so it has just always worked out that I take it real fast. And I get one that records the temp until you use it again. I take it real fast. I don't even look at it, put it down, feed the baby, go back to sleep. And then in the morning, I check it and record it. So as long as you're following the rules, it doesn't matter if you take it at 6 a.m. or 2 a.m. So the exact how-to would be to get a thermometer. You can use just any thermometer. I use a BBT thermometer because, like I said, there are flashy things in the thermometer that are a benefit to me. I have one that has a backlit and it remembers the temp. So if I do want to record it right away, it lights up when it's done.
Where did you get
I got it on Amazon and I sent Gabby the link. I'm
awesome.
Sure it's $19. It's very inexpensive. I don't actually care for the ones that have Wi-Fi or Bluetooth that are a thermometer, not like a band or something, because
I didn't like mine either when I had a Bluetooth one. You
have to be within a certain range, and I sleep with my phone on my bedside table and it would never be close enough.
That's weird.
To auto sync. And so I was like, I paid like an extra $15 or something for that.
Yeah.
So my favorite one is just the cheap one with the backlight that saves it. So what you do is, you figure out what time you're going to take it. You take it every day and you record it. If you use an app, I definitely recommend an app. Kindara is my favorite app for this.
We'll make sure to link that too.
It asks you all the data. You don't have to like search around for anything. It just asks you in a row what to input, and then it makes you a graph. And so what you're looking for on the graph is you're looking for a temperature shift, which means that the temp is 0.2 degrees higher than the last 6 temperatures. So in a lot of charts, you'll see like it go really high, like right after your period, and then low, and then maybe high again, and then low. And then you'll start to kind of level out. And so you're looking for that spike for only the last 6. And so that doesn't include, some of the first erratic temperatures. And so what that makes is a cover line is you'll count the last 6. It makes a cover line. And in your luteal phase, your temp will stay at or above the cover line until you start your period. So to confirm ovulation for sure, you have to make sure that 3 temperatures in a row stay above the cover line. Once that's confirmed, you are out of the game that cycle. There's not another chance. Hyper ovulation is pretty rare. And so we're not even going to talk about that, but
yeah. No, that's awesome. Really good information. And again, we're going to be linking some resources that goes even further detail. This is just like a basic overview. I personally temp with a device called a Temp Drop that I wear on my arm at night, and it automatically gets sent to my phone, and I love it so much, but it is very expensive. So we had a gift of money that was given to us, and so we were able to purchase it with that gift. And so if you are looking for something that's a little less maintenance, that you will literally just slip it on, I never have to wake up at any random time. I just sleep through the night and I wake up and it gets sent to my phone. It's a lot easier for me to do it that way. I also have done a regular thermometer, and I've also done a Bluetooth thermometer. So I've done all of the different ways. Obviously, the bigger your budget, the less hassle temping is, but you can do this again just with a regular thermometer. And can you tell us if you prefer internal temping or mouth temping?
So I prefer internal.
Yes.
When I started researching, I read that that was the most accurate way. In hindsight, the most accurate way is to always do the same method.
Right.
But as far as it is a little more accurate, as in it's a little more true to your real temp. So if you are using it as a health thing, I would probably suggest internal. Another thing is it's really easy for me to fall back asleep afterwards when I do it internal. And I don't think if it was in my mouth, I would have that same effect.
Right.
You know,
I get it.
You get it. Okay.
Yes.
That's why I like it. And then I just wake up and I find the thermometer in my bed and I read it.
We're getting real here.
I make this super easy. I would love a Temp Drop one day because I am super committed to this and I'm going to do this forever. But for right now, like I have one and it's it's just second nature to me now. And I don't temp when I'm pregnant. So I have stopped 4 times, I guess, technically. And the second I start up again, it's like I never stopped. Like it's just
a habit.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's,
Okay. Can we move on to cervical mucus?
Yes. So now temping is the only way to confirm ovulation. But like I said, that's a hindsight knowledge. You want some foresight. You want to either be able to plan when your best chances are to get pregnant, or you want to know the exact rules for trying not to get pregnant.
Right.
And so cervical mucus is probably the easiest method to do that. Obviously,
and it's free.
It's free. And that's why it's the easiest. All of these together would make up your best chance. But this is the easiest and it's the free one. So you can use toilet paper or clean fingers for an internal check. And I did link my favorite resource for this because saying this is probably not going to mean much.
Right.
You really need a visual. And so there's a blog, Mama Natural. She has a like cartoon drawing of the different types. And it's very, you really need to see it to be able to know what you're looking for. And so I definitely recommend that blog. So the rundown is kind of dry, sticky, creamy, and clear. And then after ovulation, you can have anything and it's not, you can't spot check a pregnancy based off of CM.
Right.
Your body could have, dry one cycle and something else the other. It doesn't mean anything after ovulation, that is. So, and some women I know can skip kind of, maybe some never are dry, some maybe never are creamy, but you always have clear or egg white cervical mucus when you're fertile.
So what is amount something that we need to look for, or just the texture and color?
I think that amount can vary person to person.
Right.
I do know that the more you have in your fertile period, the better your chances are. There are actually supplements that you can take if you want to increase your cervical mucus. Because the reason that it helps the sperm stay alive and get to the egg. So the reason you're not fertile when you're dry is because it can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And so the more it changes into like a slippery, if you will, to kind of catapult into where it needs to go. It's what one of the blogs I read said. But
that's awesome.
I thought it was the more fertile you are. So as long as you're not dry, there technically is a chance you can get pregnant. But that's only because the length that you're going to be in each phase is not a science. You can be sticky for 2 days, one cycle. It's not a exact science. But once you have egg white, you are fertile. So, like I said, so you have your period, you'll usually be dry, and then you'll move on to sticky, which isn't fertile either. Creamy is usually next, and it's semi-fertile. It's not quite close to ovulation, but it's close enough that depending on how long you stay in the cycle, it could get you pregnant. And then egg white is really what you're looking for if you are trying to conceive. That is
Right.
the more you know your general pattern of, oh, I have it for 5 days or whatever, the better you can try and time your chances of getting pregnant. Something I read a few years ago was that 2 and 3 days before ovulation are your highest chances to get pregnant. But once I learned my body, that was always something that was in the back of my mind as far as timing goes, if timing is possible in a cycle.
Cool. No, this is all really good information.
Oh, and one thing is, so when you ovulate, that's your egg releasing. And so the egg only stays alive for 24 hours if it's not fertilized. So your chances of getting pregnant after ovulation are almost none. They are a very small amount. If you're super fertile, then yeah, it probably can happen. But I would say for the average woman, like, don't count on getting that temp spike and then doing it real fast.
Right. Yeah.
That's really going to be disappointing.
Cool. Thank you so much for covering that. Can we go and move on to ovulation tests? This is something that I personally have done. It's not my favorite to do, and I probably will never do it again, but it's definitely an option.
I was going to say, they are my favorite only because, and I really do feel for you, Gabby, because I know that we have very different fertility journeys.
Yeah.
And so I know that women with PCOS likely never get a positive OBK.
Yeah.
And whereas I do.
Right.
And I have had a pretty consistent pattern with my LH hormone. It stands for luteinizing, but I can't really.
Luteinizing hormone?
Yeah, I'm going to for that a lot. So it's just LH.
Yeah.
It's what the OPK is tracking. And so I have very clear patterns and numbers where it makes it a little bit fun for me. But so this you have to buy. It does cost money. It's fairly inexpensive if you buy the 100 packs on Amazon or probably Walmart, wherever. The hormone spikes 12 to 36 hours before you ovulate. So this is another one of those ahead of time. Ahead of time. But these cannot be relied on
by themselves. Yeah.
Because you can have a rise in LH and then your body can have failed ovulation. And your body could try again later. And if you just count that off as, okay, I'm done, you are either going to get pregnant or you are going to not get pregnant when you wanted to get pregnant.
Yeah. Right.
And so
this is a good tool to have in addition to the other things that we mentioned, but it's not something that you should rely on independently.
No.
As the only thing that you do. They're like, oh, I can pee on a stick. Easy. Yeah. I'll just do that every month.
I've seen that people really like to just use OPKs, and I get it. They can be really fun. There is a little addicting side to it if you are trying to conceive. And it's easy. People think it's easier to pee on a stick or pee in a cup and then dip a stick in.
Yeah.
Instead of temping. And I'm like, no, I do. I temp half asleep.
Yeah.
I wake up and I'm like, I hope I temped. Like, I don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I might need to pop out because I hear.
It's fine.
Shannon, I have to.
She's going to pop out.
I'm
going to let you guys finish this.
Okay. Yeah. Don't worry. You got to do what you got to do. So we're also going to link those ovulation tests that you can get on Amazon because they're really inexpensive and it's a good tool to have. There's another method of NFP that I have heard. I don't do it myself, but a rhythm tracking. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So I actually had never heard about this until you sent me some notes. So one of my favorite resources it's called Taking Charge of Your Fertility. It's a pretty
Chonky
popular book. I read it in a few days last year because I was, I guess it wasn't last year. I guess it was 2 years ago. I was just wanting to know as much as I could about my body because I had just been diagnosed with some illnesses. And anyway, I flew through the book, but I just happened to open to the first page. And it says here about the rhythm method is much of the fallacy of they're talking about that women have 28-day cycles and ovulate on day 14 comes from the dangerously inaccurate rhythm method, which falsely assumes that individual women have cycle lengths that, if not precisely 28 days, are reliably consistent over time. And so the thing with the rhythm method, it seems that it's a statistical prediction using a mathematical formula based on the average of past cycles to predict future fertility.
Yeah.
So if using that knowledge, if I had to guess what the rhythm cycle means, would just be like being in tune with your body and seeing, or not even being in tune with your body, I guess, but looking at your past cycles and being like, oh, I always ovulate on day 17.
Right.
So I'll just, either prevent for those 5 days, or we're going to try every other day for those 5 days. And that's all you do.
Right.
There's no temping, which I don't even know how you would even know that. I guess this only goes off of the assumption that you're going to ovulate on day 14, which I would
every
not
time. Yeah.
have any of my kids because I ovulate on day 17 or 18.
Yeah. And you found that out after using the other parts of NFP that are more reliable. You figured that out.
I only know that because I have temped for 5 years now.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. So this would not be a reliable. Most women don't have the perfect number of a cycle. No, so this will not work for the average woman.
I did find a statistic on this, and it says that this method is only 76% effective at preventing pregnancy.
Right.
So
maybe in the same coin that it would also not be as effective in achieving pregnancy.
Yeah, because if I had to guess off of this statistic, I would say that 76% of women have a 28-day cycle and ovulate on day 14. And that's why it's effective for those women.
Yeah.
But the other, I'm not going to do math right now, but the other 24, I guess, percent of us.
Yeah.
Me is
or SOL.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, my cycles vary from 40 to 80, and it's like, how would this help somebody with any type of health condition? And then also just as you have more children, your cycles sometimes change.
My cycles have changed. At least something has changed every time I have had a child.
Yeah, see. So and this would not be reliable.
For the worse or the better. It's just different.
Just a change. Yeah, exactly.
It's neutral.
So are there any other fertile signs that are maybe available to us, but they're not as effective or maybe just a little bit more difficult to determine?
Yeah, so a kind of the third main, I guess if you're ranking them in order, under the future signs would be cervical position.
Okay.
So the closer you get to ovulation, the more your cervix moves up and back. It gets higher, softer, and more open the closer you get to ovulation.
Okay.
So the opposite of that would be low, firm, and closed. And that would mean that you are not ovulating or that you possibly already did.
Okay.
So this method, I did use this method the first 2 times that we were, and I say trying to conceive a little loosely because we don't prevent. And
Right.
so I really, it's not something really my husband and I discuss. It's just knowledge that I use
Yeah.
for my own knowledge, really.
Yeah.
So I don't do it anymore. It's kind of a pain. I honestly, I was doing it wrong yeah, the only reason I knew that is because when I was in labor or it was the day I went into labor, and I happened to just be like, I wonder if I'm close. And I tried to check if I was dilated. And I was like, oh, like this isn't what I'd been feeling.
Oh no.
And I was like, I can't believe it. Like, this is so embarrassing. But like, if you read some, and I'm pretty sure I linked a blog that goes into it. They say that it kind of feels like the tip of your nose.
Interesting.
The tip of your nose is when it's soft, and your chin, I think, is when it's firm.
Okay.
And honestly, it's definitely doable.
Right.
If you are really committed to wanting to do all of these in conjunction with another, I would just read up on it and practice and really get a feel for it.
Yeah.
I think it was just user error that I couldn't do it correctly. So it exists. It's not my favorite, like I said.
Yeah.
Some women get ovulation pains. I would be one of them.
That's
so
crazy.
I know when I'm going to ovulate within about a day.
Wow.
I have a very sharp, localized pain on my ovary on the exact side. So I even know which side I'm ovulating from.
Wow.
So that would not help me in either direction with pregnancy. It's just something I know. I just, so it's not part of the method.
It's just, it could happen because I know I don't have that, and I don't think anybody in my family has that either. So it could be
I never had it until I had my first, or at least I never noticed it. I can't definitively say because I know I didn't track anything when I was younger, but it became very apparent a few months after I got my cycle back with him that I was like, why is my cycle so short? Like, sure, like it felt like I was going to start my period, but it's only on the side.
Wow. So if you do have ovulation pains, do you track that too?
Yeah, I do. Actually, Kandara has a feature where you can input your own data that you want to track.
Cool.
So I will often add, did I take my progesterone cream?
Yeah.
Did I have ovulation pains and which side were they on? And that they have ones that you can customize, and then they have ones that are built in where you can track things like headaches, insomnia, dizziness, vomiting, nausea, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I try to use that when I'm pregnant, just so that in hindsight I can look and see how long I was sick for.
Right.
But then when I'm trying to conceive or just trying in a phase of just kind of seeing what is going on with my body, I do try and track more personalized health things.
Cool.
On there.
No, that's really good to know. And so we're going to be linking, I know we mentioned a lot of different resources today, but we're going to be linking all of them in the show notes on the website. And if there is a woman that's listening to us that is interested in joining our Trying to Conceive group, where can they find that?
So the group is called Be Fruitful and Multiply, reformed in TTC. I think you should be able to link
Cool.
The Facebook group. We have reformed in the title because Gabby and I, as well as the other admins, are reformed. But if you are a Christian woman who is married and can agree to the group rules of not talking about preventing pregnancy, as Gabby and I and Katie and Holly come from a conviction where that's not something in a typical healthy woman's marriage that we would advocate for. So as long as you can check all those boxes, that you'll be respectful of the group and that you're married and that you're a woman, we would love to have you.
Yes, we have lots of check-ins and encouragement. You can post your ovulation tests, you can post your pregnancy tests, you can ask questions, and it's a really good supportive place where we can talk about these things, and even just getting advice for how to get started with natural family planning. This is a really good place to start. There's a lot of women that have been doing this a lot longer than I have, and maybe, I don't know, is there somebody that's been doing NFP longer than you in that group?
I know I have a few friends who have been doing it. I guess friends is kind of a loose term. I have a few acquaintances that I know have been doing it longer, but I don't know if they're necessarily in the group. I mean, I'm sure there are people there that have been married for longer than 5 years.
Yeah.
That's not
awesome.
Super long, but
yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Shannon, for all of your insight and your information and just giving us even a place to start. And now we can go and look at all those resources and see what other information we can find. And hopefully this can inspire somebody to get started today.
I hope so too.
Cool. So before we get going today, we have been doing a listener recommendation of the week, and you are a listener and you're also our guest. So do you have a recommendation for us today?
So I have a cleaning product company that I love. They're called Blue Land. They're a low waste company. So I especially like their dishwasher tablets and their toilet tablets. The toilet ones smell like lemon drop or those sour lemon candy.
Yeah.
They smell so good that I have cleaned my toilet more since I bought them because
that's awesome.
Smell so good. And so they come, you buy a little tin that you reuse, and then they come in a compostable paper recyclable thing that
packaging.
That you dump them in. And I've been using the dishwasher tablets I think for 2 years now. They only just came out with the toilet cleaner. They also
I'm really excited about the toilet cleaner. I'm gonna buy as soon as mine runs out.
Yeah, I was so excited because Seventh Generation had started making one, but they're sold out everywhere online.
Wow, that's crazy.
So they sell spray bottle cleaning stuff, hand soap, laundry stuff. I've tried some of them, but those specifically, the dishwasher and the toilet cleaners, are absolutely my favorite.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the recommendation. You've been telling me for a long time to try it, so I'm really excited to try the toilet cleaners because I haven't found one that I like that's in low waste packaging. So I'm really excited. So Blue Land, we'll make sure to link that at the end of our show today. Okay, Shannon, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your dedication in helping manage our Facebook group. And I love you, girl.
I love you. Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll talk to you guys next week, and I hope you have a good rest of your week. Bye.